All right, it is 5 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the May 23rd, 2024 Norfolk Parks and Recreation Board meeting. I'd like to inform the public about the location of the Open Meetings Act, posted in the council chambers and accessible to members of the public. Roll call, please.
Terry Rasmussen.
Becky Wolf.
Austin Truex.
Jarrett Mills.
Melissa Temple.
Andover.
Angie Bailey.
Jason Thompson.
All right, I'd look for a motion, a second of approval for the full agenda tonight.
So moved.
Second.
We do have one adjustment to that. Did you make that adjustment?
Yeah, I was going to say. You want me to say it now? Okay, that's fine. We'll be moving item number 10, consideration to recommend approval of the 2024 Parks and Recreation Master Plan, to number 7, which is consideration to recommend. We'll just flip-flop those two, just so we have people in the audience here who can join us tonight. So we're going to move that one. Let's go back to item number 4, which will be the approval of the full agenda. Look for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All not in favor, same sign. Move to item number 5. There's a consideration approval of the minutes of the April 18, 2024 Parks Board meeting. We do have some possible changes to that. So would you like a motion in order to change it?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I'd look for a motion for consideration of approval in a second.
What are the changes that you're making? I'm sorry.
Ann is listed as present and absent.
Okay, we'll make those, and so you can make a motion for those, that adjustment. Is there any other? Yeah.
And you were absent, okay. So with those changes, I'd look for a motion to approve and then a second.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All non for same sign. Item number 6, highway landscaping project presentation from Clark and Enerson.
Okay, let me give a little bit of a background here before we get started on this. This is part of some landscape beautification design work that they've been working on even before I came here 2.5 years ago. And we're kind of to a point where we have a tree grant available to us to do some tree work on this project, and there's also funding available for corridor beautification, and that's run through the engineering department. But since this is beautification, landscaping, and items that Parks and Rec Department would be maintaining, we're going to bring that to the board today for kind of approval on the concept. This has been a long time coming. Clark and Anderson can, the representative, Clark and Anderson, can give us kind of background on how long that's been going on. But I'll go ahead and hand that over to him, and then we'll see what the board thinks and go from there.
Thanks for having me here tonight. My name is Bob Hammond. I'm a landscape architect with Norfolk Nebraska. Perfect. I actually just started at Clark and Anderson a few months back, but our team's been working on this now for a few years and kind of got brought back to light here a couple months ago. So I've been working with the city engineering department, Anna, Steve, and Pat on this. So I won't take up too much time, but I'll run through what we've been working on the last couple of months. So first off, there's 2 different phases. There's the streetscape part of it with the street trees that we're focusing on along Highway 75. And we did look into Highway 81, and then the second part of it is focusing on specific areas along Highway 275. So the first part of it, with that grant money, we're allocating around, I think it said $144,000 for that grant money. So we're saying about $5 per tree. So roughly we're proposing around 347 trees along all of 275. I'll get more into depth with this as I go on, and then the second part of this project, we're focusing on the main node between Highway 275 and Highway 81 by updating the pedestrian circulation, crosswalks, curb ramps, and then also introducing some landscaped areas on the south side of that. From there, we want to update the medians on the north and south side of that intersection by taking out the existing concrete and introducing some new landscaping area there. moving farther along down to the east side of 275 all the way to Down Road, we continue that streetscape, street trees all the way out to there, and then as well introducing some updated medians around South First Street near the Washington Grade School, and then also introducing some more landscaping areas next to the Norfolk River there, and then also proposing a new welcome to Norfolk entrance sign there, just off of South Channel Road and Highway 275. So like I said, $144,000, $500 a tree, comes out to about 288 trees, and if we need additional funding to make up the difference, we will, but I think the idea was to break this down in a few different years, phasing, and also pull in some city volunteering work to plant trees as well to help minimize the cost. And then on top of this, we'd be introducing they're called tree gator watering bags that you would put around trees to help keep them not dry, but watered throughout the week as well. So that would be a city task, I believe, filling those up once a weekend. So if it's planting 100 trees one year and so on and so forth, it might be a 3 or 4 year project. So yeah, we would do that all the way through 275, and that's just because it allowed for availability for property lines and such, and it also brings both good rhythm throughout the city as well, and starts to build a template that the city could build off of if they do indeed find more areas throughout, like Highway 81 as well. Trees would be roughly 2.5 inches wide, 12 to 14 feet tall, and set them off about 15 feet off the back of the curb or pavement, which is roughly 60 feet in between each trees. As you can tell, through the middle of the city, it gets a little more difficult with tighter property lines and just figuring out where to place those trees, and I think that would be a field determination as well. We'd have one of us come out there, or some of the engineering department would be able to flag certain areas that wouldn't work, and we did take into consideration existing utilities, views, roads, businesses, and things like that. The second part of this project is then focusing on these specific areas, updating the main node to the city, so introducing new pavement on each of the corners here, stamped concrete, matching the color to the rest of the city, and then, like I said, introducing some more landscape areas to the south side, doing our best to hide some of those existing utilities down there. There's a lot of boxes, overhead power line, but it leaves opportunity to, again, create some sort of template or precedent the city could build off of going forward. We'd be providing evergreen trees, some sort of pine spruces, and then a lot of native grasses as well. And that's kind of up in the air as far as how many you guys think we should be able to provide or not, just from a maintenance standpoint. But that's something where you guys could be able to cut back once or twice a year, and then the possibility of introducing future sculptures as well in those areas. To the north then, we'd be taking out the concrete and introducing a sloped medium concrete curb there, and then filling that up and providing landscape as well. We introduced a couple of trees. I think we have tulip poplars in these areas, and that's kind of the precedent we're setting for the rest of the areas. To the south, we have two different alternatives. It looks like there might have been existing landscape areas out there before, so the first alternative is replacing that back and introducing a 12-inch tall planting bed wall, filling it up with soil, plants as well. Same plant palette as before and other areas. And then the second alternative is actually replacing all that concrete and making it one continuous landscaped area, and then using that same slope median concrete curb. And the reason we did two different alternatives is to determine if the cost difference was big between the two of them, and we found out that there really wasn't that big of a cost difference at the end of the day. I can't remember what the overall funding would be. There's a couple of different numbers between 1.3 and 1.2 million, but we're under 1.3 on both these options. These are just a few different precedents that we looked at, some in Colorado, and then the one that we kind of stuck to was the area up on Norfolk Avenue. It's the same idea that we'd be providing here That's sloped stamped concrete, same color, same pattern. So if you're familiar with that area, that's kind of what the same look that we're going for in these new areas. Those next meetings that I'm talking about on 275 near First Street, we'd be proposing to take out all the concrete on both medians and then closing down one of the crosswalks and forcing pedestrians to use one crosswalk to increase safety for one, and two, introducing landscape in these areas would help slow down traffic and keep it safer as well. I should also mention we submitted these to NDOT for their approval. We haven't heard back from them though, so we're not 100% sure if they're going to allow us to close down one of these ramps or not. And I should also mention that all these medians will be tapped into irrigation, so off city water, so you guys wouldn't have to worry about hand watering those at all. Going out farther east on 275, we'd be introducing those larger landscaped areas. Again, these are evergreen trees of some sort, and then a lot of native grasses as well, same plant palette, and then possibility for future sculptures in these areas. And then lastly is that new monument sign and entrance location, same plant palette here. I think that's what you guys are more focused on. And then it'd just be a cultivated edge on all these additional landscape areas that we're talking about. And like I said, this is just more of something we want to set a precedent for us, the city going forward, and to really bring up the overall canopy within the city. That's kind of the end goal of the streetscape and these beautification efforts of the medians and landscaped areas. And then this is just kind of our schedule right now, so we're waiting on DOT, and then from there we'll discuss with city engineering, bringing in irrigation design, and then if all goes well, then we'll present it to the city council subcommittee on June 10th, provide final CDs, and then we'll advertise for bid to council meeting on June 20th. So yeah, that's all I had for tonight. I want to keep it, respectful of you guys' time. So if you have any questions or anything like that, please let me know.
Yeah, thank you. I got two questions. First one, what trees usually work best in those type of situations?
In the medians
Yeah.
or on the, so right now I think we're proposing all tulip poplars in those areas. Those are more upright, calmer trees. They're pretty sustainable as well, so they should be able to survive in droughts or anything like that. But if there's irrigation as well in those areas, they should be good to go.
Pretty good. Okay. What how do you or maybe the city work with the private landowners on some of those areas? Like, how does that?
Yes, so all of the trees that we're proposing are actually within the right-of-way areas. We did look into a few areas where we'd be able to propose trees on private property, but we ended up not proposing that now just because it might be a aftermath of maybe knocking on some doors and just asking if they'd be willing to plant trees. So we wanted to basically provide something that was actually going to work from the get-go, kind of deal.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Question. With these trees that you're putting in the streetscape, are you looking at the wires above and everything to make sure you're not putting in things that then you're going to end up having to cut down?
Yes, so when we came out here for a site visit, I can't believe, it might have been a month ago already, and drove around with Steve and digested all the areas, and then to a lot of site photos, and then from there I digested everything on Google Maps, Road Street View, and made sure that all the utility lines we could see were away from all these trees. So when these trees are mature, they shouldn't have any problems or any trimming or anything like that. They should be far enough away.
So with the signage that's coming in from the east entrance, we're replacing the old Norfolk sign, is that correct?
Yeah, so to my understanding, when I asked Steve about that, it sounded like the leasing for the ground might have been getting over. And so his idea was to just provide a whole new sign just down the road at that South Channel intersection, because that old sign's farther up the road.
I think it is farther, yeah. It's the same one as the one coming in, I think, from the west.
Yes, it's the same, and there might be a possibility of using that same signage in that area. It just kind of depends what route the city engineering wants to take, or if it's even in the budget to do that. So,
And then with the pedestrian crossings, is there any enhanced safety measures by replacing those that isn't currently in place?
So currently in place, there's the 3 curb ramps on the both north sides and then on the southeast side. And so that's kind of part of the thing that we're hoping to get feedback from on DOT. Right now, we're only proposing 1 curb ramp, and with that, we shouldn't have to replace any pedestrian pedestal push buttons or any of that.
Okay.
And we'll have to get up with a traffic engineer as well to make sure that we're meeting all those codes. And then we're also proposing that new pavement on the southwest corner. And so we should only have to propose 1 pedestrian pedestal. DOT might come back and have us input multiple ramps on each corner just for safety. But we didn't want to get into changing any of the traffic configuration right now, just where the stop bars are at and all that. So the budget might go up, or our estimate might have to go up if we're introducing more traffic pedestals and push buttons and things like that. So there is a level of care when it comes to making sure that it's going to be safety, and then DOT is reviewing that as well.
Okay, and then my last question has to do with, you said about $500 a tree? Is that depending on the species, or?
It depends on the species, and I took estimates from Omaha and Lincoln nurseries as well. And when I was calling just for specific types of trees, they don't have a list of trees on hand, so it's like one of those things where we have to go out and actually view them in person. But those sizes of trees range from anywhere from like $350 to $450 usually. So it's more of a conservative number.
Yeah, it seemed a little high.
Yeah, so we just want to make sure that we're not like saying you get 500 trees and then the budget comes back and you only get 200. So it is a very conservative number. So we might be able to get the full 347 trees out of it right away from that $144,000 grant.
Okay, but they're quite mature trees if they're already at 12 to 14.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Looking
What
at, sorry, go ahead.
What other species of trees were you planning to use other than the poplars?
So for the streetscape, we have 8 different species that we're proposing. We didn't want to exceed anything over 20% of one species for the entire streetscape. We have prairie pride hackberry. We have, I believe it's a streetscape honey locust, a Kentucky coffee tree. We have a London plane tree, a frontier elm, a swamp white oak, and then there's a few quaking aspens as well as the tulip poplars.
So looking at First in Omaha, right by Washington Elementary, you were talking about those 2 new crosswalks, east and west of the intersection. The intersection crosswalks will stay intact, or have we worked with the school at all to see what kind of student traffic they have in the mornings?
We haven't reached out to the school on that, but on the, if I go back, after discussion with some of the staff, the city engineering on this side, the school is up here on the top right, and so our determination made more sense to keep this crosswalk open, leading straight into the school, and then closing this one down and forcing traffic over and then up. DOT might come back though and say that there is traffic signals down here at First Street though, so they might not even allow us to. They may say keep both open. They may say close both. We just want everybody to go down to First Street. So that's one of the things that we're waiting back from DOT on. So.
Thank you.
Has anybody ever done any studies on these ones that aren't at the intersection as far as safety? I know north of 13th Street, there's the one that's not, it's in the middle of a block, and I saw a lot of times where, people just ran it because they didn't realize that it's a place they should be stopping.
Yeah, I know our team had an addendum of a load of inventory analysis that they did before I got here. And so they did a lot of studies, and just from studies in school as well, closing or converting concrete into landscaping is supposed to guide people right to the right path rather than having children run straight across or parents run straight across the concrete median. So, and then as well, introducing trees overhead, it tends to slow cars down naturally when you're driving. If you see all concrete, you have a tendency to speed up. So introducing a more raised concrete planter with shrubs and trees should, in fact, slow people down and make them aware that this is a crossing and that's part of the crossing pavements as well, that we'd be introducing, because out there right now, there's no pavement markings. So seeing those on the road as well when you're driving is another indication to provide better safety for the pedestrian that are walking, just from studies and stuff. So I had seen any personal studies that our firm has done, I guess, but that helps to answer your question a little bit.
How about when you look at ongoing costs for this? It seems like, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going in here, and there's going to be ongoing maintenance after it's installed, and may need more people. You have some sort of estimate on that, would be annually?
We don't have any cost estimates on the maintenance side of things. It was more just focusing on the cost estimate of getting it in place. I know Steve has had input about, he's advocated for low maintenance in these areas because, again, there's not an unbelievable amount of staff to take care of it all the time. So we don't have any numbers going forward on what it would take to maintain these areas. And if it's one of those things too, where you can phase it out and maybe do small sections of it to introduce it and see what could be available for taking on for future maintenance, that might be a possibility as well. Yeah, we don't have any numbers on that.
All the decisions on the plants and the landscape, especially in the medians, is all low maintenance, you know, where you're coming in annually to clean it out and get ready for the spring, and you're doing your regular trash pickup, but that's all normal. We do weed control in those areas already, or at least the streets do that, so.
So with these changes, you're looking at basically replacing with the same maintenance? Really? Is that what you're saying? It looks like it would be more.
It would, the plants would be more additional maintenance, but I don't see it as additional staffing needs.
A lot of these are native grasses that we'd be using, so you'd be cutting them once a year.
We're not mowing, these are
Yeah,
no
sorry,
mowing.
this isn't grass or fescue grass or like,
Ornamentals.
yeah, they're ornament grasses, thank you. So you'd be cutting them once and you should go for the year.
And you're usually doing that in the off season when we have a little bit more time, but I don't know if it would be street or parks that would be doing that regularly, but more than likely it'd be parks.
And then the trees that you're picking are ones that you know that are hardy for Zone 4.
Yeah, and we have a couple of different colleagues that I've worked with on this, and they're landscape architects as well, and we referred to the addendum that we did before on some of the trees that they used, and then yes, all of the trees should be sustainable and should thrive. Yep.
Okay, so actually we'd be seeking a motion for this. The motion would be to approve the concept, and we don't have to worry about the safety aspect that falls under engineering. We don't have to worry about the budget that also falls under engineering, but the landscaping concept is what I would be seeking a motion for approval. Of what Clark and Henderson has presented to you today.
All right, look for a motion, a second to looking for a concept of this from what they presented today from Clark and Henderson.
I'll approve that. Or I'll make that motion.
Second it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All not in favor, same sign. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I do have one quick question, just with the curbs on all of these, you know, there's been a lot of places on Norfolk Avenue and such where everything is painted yellow, and then it peels off, and they're hosing it off, and then painting it again. We're not doing that on any of this, are we?
So,
Yeah.
Not to my knowledge.
Don't do that anymore.
Thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, like I mentioned, we're moving item 10 to number 7. So this is a consideration to recommend approval of the 2024 Parks and Recreation Master Plan.
Okay, so we'll get started on that. Let me see. Okay, so this is the master plan process. There's going to be a lot to digest here, and we'll review that kind of as we get closer to the end here. I will start going through that process here. Agenda is just our key issues and themes, our comparative analysis, community priority, investment strategy, and our funding strategies. These are items that we have not discussed in the past. This is our full master plan process that we have now completed. We've gone through where we're at today with all of our program reviews, our GIS mapping, park classifications, to where we're going tomorrow, our surveys, benchmark analysis, public meetings, stakeholder interviews, and then how do we get there? Needs prioritization, operational review, capital funding improvement, funding and revenue planning, and strategic action plan, and we'll get into some of that here. We've been involved with some community meetings, statistically valid surveys, and you see the number of people that we've surveyed, online survey as well, and stakeholder and focus group meetings that we've had. Our themes, parks and trails, complete a connected trail system throughout the city to support health and wellness, activate existing parks through more indoor and outdoor year-round programming, continue to improve existing parks through responsible capital improvements. Our recreation, need to provide indoor recreation program and aquatic spaces, expand core programmings to meet the community needs, and marketing and communication enhancement needs to encourage more community use of the parks and programs available. Our operations and staffing, maintain what the city already owns through effective park maintenance management, ensure staffing is adequate for the maintenance and operations of parks and facilities, as well as program service delivery. Upgrade commercial equipment to reduce staffing needs. Funding, city earned income to help offset operational costs, expand partnerships, especially for indoor space. Our cooperative analysis, if you look throughout Nebraska, total acres per 1,000 residents, we're at 20.29, and you can see where we fall with Fremont, Columbus, Hastings, we're right there with them. This is trail miles per 1,000 residents. We're at 0.88, right there with Kearney, Fremont. Indoor recreation. We do not have any indoor recreation, and we're probably the only city in Nebraska that does not. That's public indoor recreation. There's a difference between private and nonprofit and public. And this is a number of full-time employees per 10,000 residents. We have 6.21 in our department, right there with Fremont and above Granite Island, and we're also right there with Columbus. Community priority investment strategies. We will talk about the sustainable alternatives. We, in our planning, we identified what we could do within our current budget. We identified our expanded services and also our visionary, and we'll talk about how those are funded here shortly. Community priority investment, these are the critical sustainable alternatives. This is focusing on deferred maintenance, life cycle replacement, and asset and amenities within the existing system. And this will focus on basically our maintenance of our current system. And you can see a few things in the list as examples. Expanded services. This would be expanding trails, field upgrades, like the Old Mill and Johnson Park, and pickleball courts. Those are all expanded services. And then our visionary projects we'll talk about shortly here as well. These are items that were identified through our surveys and our discussions with publics and stakeholders that we need an indoor community center, rec center, a sports complex expansion at Tawazuka, a new indoor aquatic center, and a new ice rink. Those all came out of those. Those were all in the top 10. I think the ice rink might have been right around the top 11, but it was close to the top to put it in as a visionary project. So this is our investments, for next year, it's $1.7 million in projects. A lot of those are funded through grants, donations, sponsorships, partnerships, and that's how we're funding those projects. And that is part of our the items that we can fit within our budget. Our 2 to 5 year estimate is $8 million. And again, you're going to need a lot of grants and partnerships and donations to get you there. And then our 5 to 10 year, and I'll show you what those look like here shortly. Our CIB, $5.3 million in projects over the next 10 years. Operations and maintenance, we identified 100,000 in I'll show you that shortly as well. And then partnerships, grants, donations to complete all the projects. We would have to come up with over $10 million in partnerships, grants, and donations. And then our visionary projects that we talked about, indoor aquatic center, we know is $32 million. That is for an aquatic center that would meet the needs of a community our size for a public aquatic center. Anything smaller is going to get overcrowded quickly, and we'll still be needing a larger facility. This one would meet the needs of the community our size. Community center, again, that's what you would need is 25 to 30,000 square feet. A community center could be a senior center, could be youth center, could be kind of all the above as well. So a lot of community centers are all ages and focused heavily on seniors. And then the Zook Sports Complex, we know, is about $8.2 million to do a lot of the road work and parking lot improvements that we need out there. We did fit all the other projects within the projects up top with the $10 million, because you can do a lot of those projects with grant funds. And so that's why that total is a little bit lower than what the estimate was. I think we had an original estimate of, I think over 20 million, but we were able to bring that down and kind of look at each project and see what we needed. And then the ice rink, an estimation from from Confluence was 14 to 17 million for an indoor ice rink. Okay, so this is how do we fund our projects? This is how we're currently funding our Parks and Recreation. External funding sources through corporate sponsorships, partnerships with the schools, volunteerism, simple things like a campground host. How about with our funding? Capital funding sources would be Keno dollars mostly. User fees, so it would be program fees, fees and charges, admissions and memberships, permits, reservations, and rentals. Grants would be Civic and Community Center and Financing Fund, CCCF Fund, FF Fund, the Nebraska Recreation and Trails Program. We will be applying for grants from that this year. QCT grants, LENRD grants as well, with the Forestry Assistance Program. In the Nebraska Forest Service Inflation Reduction Acts, we just got that $144,000 grant from the Forest Service. Taxes also fund Parks and Rec through general fund dollars to fund a lot of our operations. Franchise and licensing as well. Pouring rights, that would be for beverage rights throughout the Parks and Rec Department, which that contract is up next year, so we will put out an RFP to give our funding rights for a decent sized donation, maybe to replace our scoreboards would be a good use of those funds. Concessions management, we do have profits from our concessions, advertising on our scoreboards, and just our interlocal agreements that we have with our schools. These are funding sources that we can consider that we do not currently use. Crowdfunding, those are all of these will be laid out in the plan, a little more specific. I won't get into each of them, but Park Foundation and gifts, we did have a couple of those. We funded our pump track through estate donations. We're also funding the team lockers and the fishing dock at Skyview Lake with the state donations. So irrevocable remainder trusts, capital funding sources, public and private partnerships, capital fees, dedicated development and redevelopment fees. These are fees that you place on new development, park impact fees, new development. We do not tap into those, and revenue-backed bonds. We can fund it through new user fees, grants, the LWCF grant, which we will be applying for this year, Nebraska Watchable Wildlife Grants, State Road Account Program. So if any road is leading to a park, you can get grants for that. LNRD Recreation Area Development Fund, Outdoor Recreation Legacy Partnership Program, and the Arboretum as well. Taxes, these we don't utilize. This would be your local food and beverage taxes, your occupation tax, local lodging tax, and sales tax as well. We do know in the survey that there was not much support for the sales tax, but the occupation tax was somewhat supported for parks investments. Franchise licensing, catering permits and services, trails and greenway utilities, and naming rights as well, which we haven't really tapped into. So these are all items that we can consider to use for future projects. So I won't go into questions. I will first go into the plan and give you some highlights, and we'll go through it quickly. This is our park system. The board has seen this trails, this map of our park system, and includes all of our trails and all the facilities that we maintain throughout the city. And then you have acreages in there. We've gone through all the surveys. I'll go through our vision, our mission. Our vision: provide vibrant and desirable parks and recreation facilities that improve the overall well-being of the entire Norfolk community. And our mission will be Norfolk Park and Recreation will provide great parks, trails, recreation facilities, and programs that benefit all residents through safe and enjoyable experiences that make living Norfolk the community of choice.
Nate, sorry, could you just scroll up just real quick on the couple more pages there? It's like 7 or 8, I can't remember. Just to show what the, there it is right there, the red,
All right.
with the red graph. There you go.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. So this is from our survey. It says where priorities are. Trails are always a priority in every community. So most surveys that you see will have trails first. And as you see, though, we're doing well with our trails. We match Kearney and some other cities. Indoor swimming pools is number 1 facilities, and as you see in the top, all the way down the indoor ice rink, we have several indoor facilities that are desirable by the public, and that is a public indoor facilities is that what we're showing you here. Any questions on that?
I don't think so. We've touched on the swim beaches before, but that's probably a different conversation, but.
Yep. Swimming beach is desirable. We will technically have one on the river. We'll have a beach, and not really a swimming beach, but it's a beach and you can get your feet in the water. But a swimming beach, I'm thinking here, is something at the lake is what would be desirable. And then that's something we will address at some point. Okay, and then I'm just going to hit some highlights here. I want to get down to we hit all demographics throughout the surveys as we expected. It was a statistically valid survey. So we hit all income levels. This would be our trend analysis. This is what's going on nationwide, and if it's trending downwards, you'll see it in the red. So ultimate frisbees dropping in popularity. Golf has increased quite a bit, and that was a result of COVID. So you can look through that when you have time. You get to the red line is where we are compared to the. I'm sorry, the red line would be your national average, and where we stand is the blues. So soccer and basketball, tennis, softball, baseball lower than the national average. When you start hitting volleyball, football, and golf, you're getting above the national average in Norfolk. Swimming is also big in Norfolk compared to the national average, whereas some of the others are quite a bit lower. And then your outdoor activities are also higher in Norfolk compared to the national average. And you can see we like to visit indoor water parks, but we do not have one available. So this is where these are credit card sales and where people spend their money. According to the national average, we're 23% higher on visiting indoor water parks. And then visiting the zoo and so on. And we talked about this a little bit. I think we hit on these. This one is just our demographics here. And then we talked about the total acreage. We went through all these in the survey, or in the first slideshow. And then we go through our survey. We have a lot of different surveys on why they're using our facilities and how satisfied they are with our facilities as well. Overall is positive. We need to get down to some of the other. Again, this shows that 51% would support hotel tax for parks improvements and parks projects. 55% prefer sponsorships. But when you get down to taxes, sales taxing, you're getting a little bit lower. Hard to get that to pass for like a indoor water park. You could.
Where's the food and beverage tax on?
It would be under the hotel tax here.
So the top choice is the hotel tax, but overall, it would be sponsorships and advertising signage. Is that fair
correct.
to say?
Yep. And then we looked at this as well already. So these are top priority investment rankings for programs. Our survey, we have the statistically valid with the online survey next to each other. Adult fitness, nature programs, outdoor adventure, fishing programs, and active senior programs. Those were the top 5. And as you can see, our online was very close. It was identical here. For facilities, multi-use paved trails, indoor swimming pool, nature areas and wildlife habitat, swimming beach, and indoor running track. The online survey was a little bit different, where an indoor playground was a little bit higher. This is the statistically valid. Major actions: add restrooms, add trees to improve the tree canopy, improve existing paving, walking trails, develop new trails that connect existing parks, improve existing large community parks. And we had pretty close to the same. Facilities and amenities most important to households. Indoor swimming pool is right up there every time that we ask the question. Okay. And I want to get to the CIP so we can get through this here. So we went through and looked at the strengths and opportunities within the system, and we went and looked at each and every park and went and as we put in our capital improvement and on what improvements needed to be done in that park. For instance, Central Park, you want to update the bathrooms with new fixtures, add accessible ramp to raise stage, replace basketball court. These are all items that need to be done within the next 10 years. And we did that for each park. Okay, this is our where we fall. If you want to compare how we're doing with national averages, so you can look here. We have 8 basketball courts. And over here, it'll say if a need exists based on how many courts. The national average 1 court for every 7,000 people. Our recommended standard is 1 for every 2,500, and so we have 2 courts that are needed in our community. Pickleball courts, same thing here. A need exists, 3. We are putting 3 in, so that'll actually even out and meet standards. And that goes through each of the facilities. Indoor rec, we have needs that exist for indoor rec as well. High means the surveys said that this is a high priority. Medium, blue is a medium priority, and low is low priority by the public in our surveys. So you can look through these and see where we fall. Any questions on this? And parks is a map, so we mapped it out. This would be neighborhood parks throughout our system. You can see what areas are needing neighborhood parks. These are less than 10 acres. These are regional parks. We have 3. We've identified Johnson Park as a regional park because of its value that it's bringing to the community. And special use parks, which would be Nord Park, River Point, and Veterans Memorial. Undeveloped open spaces that we have available throughout the city. And this is our trail system. This is the Cowboy Trail, and so it has a little bit more bigger draw. And then we go through each of them: Baldines, basketball courts, dog park, in the area that dog park services in general. Large shelters, outdoor ice rink, which is going into Johnson Park, outdoor pool, playgrounds throughout the community. Their playgrounds are pretty well spread out evenly. Rectangular fields, missing some of that space out here. And sand volleyball, skate park, small shelters. Special use facilities would be your North Pine Park, River Point Square, and Veterans Memorial. Splash pads, we're adding 1 in Johnson Park. We have 2 in this side of town. Tennis courts. Okay. Top priorities for programs. Again, we kind of touched on the top 5. But these are things that we can look at as we do our programming and set up our programming. This is the capital. This is what I was wanting to get to. If you see items in green, we've been able to fit that within our budget, our current budget. Everything else would need grant funding to make that happen. And you go through each park and the needs that need to be done over the next 10 years. So we have a next year, 2 to 5 year plan, and a 5 to 10 year plan for each of the items in each park. Okay. And we plugged in everything in here instead of in a visionary projects because we feel we can do that with grant funding for Tahazuka. And then again, we get down to the visionary projects, the indoor aquatic center, and how do you fund a project that big? That's always the question. And I will tell you, there's a reason why we don't have an indoor aquatic center. You have to do it. It has to be bonded for a public pool to that size to be. You'd have to have a hotel tax bond, I think, to actually make that happen. You don't have to bond that much. You can do partnerships. You can get naming rights, and you can work with the schools, work with local nonprofits, and help partnership and put partnerships into that where you're not absorbing all the costs. The vast majority of costs of a facility that size need to be bonded. And how do you bond it? That happens by community effort. And we see that with everything. Anytime the community steps up and wants something done, they seem to do a very good job of getting that done. And it takes community support to do that. There's been a lot of public support to get the police station renovated. And, they just met on how they would fund that. And that would be probably through bond as well to do something like that. But that's because they have the public out there pushing that and wanting that done. So it's not something that we are here to say. We know that the community wants an indoor pool. We know what's going to cost. We support it. But if you want it, the public's got to step up and make it happen. If that makes sense. Do you have any questions on that? And that would go for an ice rink, community center, or a sports complex improvements.
I guess I have a question on that topic. So when we talk about indoor recreation and business partnerships and things like that, I know there's at least one group that would like to do indoor recreation complex, and seems like that would be a good opportunity for the city to share some of that facility when it gets made. So how can we make something like that happen, make that, bring our costs down and work with businesses to get these things?
Yep. For partnerships, they need to come to the city and they need to be asking for it. This is a public-driven, these are public-driven facilities. They really are. Without that public push, we get calls for small things all the time. We got a letter for West Side Park wanting more new equipment to replace that slide. I sent out letters to all the board members, all the council members, and guess what's in the budget? So we're going to replace that slide next year. That's how you get things done if you want something done. And it's for small things and it's also for big things. It's really the public getting out there and saying, we want to have this done. And so those entities, those partnerships, we would reach out if we had, if we talk with them all the time. Let's just put it that way. We talk with a lot of entities and we talk about, what it is. The swim club is here tonight because they want an indoor aquatic center. We talk with them regularly and I try to fill them in on what, the best approach is for getting something like this done. And it's really up to them to make happen. But we're here to help them through that process.
But can it be a private facility and also used for public?
That's correct. So you can lease space. Is that what you're thinking? Having lease space within a facility, or?
Yeah, where it would be a privately owned and shared with the public.
That would be probably lease space within the public. So public owns the facility if it's paid for by tax dollars. It's publicly owned, and you can lease space out within that facility.
That's the opposite of what I'm saying.
Okay. I guess I'm not following.
I'm saying that somebody, I know there's at least one group that wants to build an indoor sports complex.
Mm-hmm.
Can we publicly share that and still have it be privately owned?
That would be us leasing from them. We can't pay for it without it being a public facility.
It seems like there should be a way.
Well, there's a reason why we don't have these things. Because there's,
I don't believe that.
you can't take tax dollars and give that to a nonprofit. You just legally can't.
Or like you can't like cost share with a private company. That's what you're saying.
You can. I mean, there's ways to, we help fix the roof for the senior center, there's things that you can do, but when you get in, operations and sending money over, that's a tough ask. It's not a public facility.
If you've already got a facility going up, and then you're double spending, because you got private spending and you got public spending, that seems like there could be something in between that.
They would have to want the city to partner with them. I mean, they would have to have that ask. I don't, we'd have to just get into specifics. I couldn't help out without having specific, but, if you're using tax dollars though to build a public facility, it has to be a public facility.
I would say you'd be using the facility and not building it. That's what I would think it would be.
That'd probably be a lease to the city, so we'd lease the facility, is what I would
So it'd
think.
be like a long-term agreement.
A long-term agreement where that's where basically you're leasing it, even if you're splitting the cost of utilities.
Would that be a possibility then?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I think with, just due to time, this is open for public comment? Is that
Yep,
correct?
I think, let me see if there's anything else here. On this chart right here, I just want to show you, this is our org chart that's in our budget. This is how we're set up. This is our current structure. And then this right here is the amount of hours and where all the hours are. So these aren't people, these are hours. So we manage 92,000 hours of staff time per year. 56,000 is in rec. Administration, you can see how much hours go into administration, and then parks, we have 29,000 hours going into parks maintenance, and another 17,000 going into sports. So that, if you want to look at where people spend their time, this will give you a good idea. So there's that, and I think we can go ahead and open it up for any questions then.
So with those 4 projects we were just looking at, I mean, do you see any of them as being able to be combined to, like the aquatic center and the community center and the ice rink, being one large kind of facility? Would that cut back on costs to combine though? I know, obviously that would be a massive project, but.
That would be a very big project, and you'd have to have coordination between all the groups to support it at the same time.
Like large complex.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then ice rinks, I see those around the country. A lot of those are privately owned, but is that shifting to more of a?
I'm sorry, what was that?
For ice rinks, I see those a lot around the country privately owned, but in Nebraska, is it more of a public entity?
There's probably just as many public entities as are private. They're expensive. They can be profitable though. But yeah, so there would just have to be an investor that steps up and builds that, so.
And there hasn't been any interest that you're aware of? Okay.
No.
one final question. So the sister cities you shared, how have some of them funded facilities?
Say, indoor facilities?
Indoor facilities,
Indoor
yes.
facilities, usually they have to, usually for recreation, you have to bond those. It depends on how much we're talking here. Small community center, you probably can do within your budget, if you prioritized it. But most of them are bonded. And we're talking about public facilities, and there are partnerships where they're either leasing it from you as a city owner, or I think like what we were talking about here is actually the city actually leasing it from them.
Because I think what the problem is when you're talking, the city can't give a private entity money. You just can't give it to them to help them support the structure or the running of it. But you can lease out the area, and through that is how you're going to help support.
I think my understanding is if you were going to bond it with with taxpayer money, it would be city owned. It'd have to be public owned. So there are ways to lease, so from the facility or partner in that way, but that's a little bit different.
I would like to open it to any public comment. I think that's important to hear from. We got a nice crowd tonight. Let's hear from them. Ms. Temple, would you want to take time? If you do come up, just please state your name. That'd be great. 5 minutes.
Whatever you choose.
Let's do 5 minutes.
My name's Elissa Carney, and I guess I just, let me just grab my little notes that I was making here, sorry. So the comment was that the request needs to come from the public. So I am the public and I am asking. And I feel like I've been asking for decades. So just to kind of say that, I grew up in Norfolk from about my junior high years. I've worked at Memorial and Liberty Bell. I've been part of the swim program. I'm an adult swimmer. I've used the aquatic facilities through the years, but I see a strain on, I don't feel like we have the space for the Learn to Swim programs, and we have a community that likes outdoor activities, and we have water, and we have a good, we have minority populations that tend to have less swimming background and automatically knowing how to swim, and so we need programs and we need space that is real easy for the public to get involved in swim lessons, not just a few months out of the year. So it feels like it's been something that we've fought to get this for a long time, and it took, upgrading the outdoor water facilities took us so many years. And the only way we could get it done was to tag it along with the football program, and the baseball program. And it's more important than that. We need our kids to be able to know how to swim. We need all of the age groups able to recreate in a place where you can do that, even if you have a disability, even if you are struggling to do other activities because your knees hurt and you need the low impact or whatever. We just need space for that. So anyway, that's just what I want to say. I feel like we're asking when we're here asking for that. But not just asking, I also just want to say thank you guys for all of your work that you've done. I'm a big user of the trail programs, of the trails around town too. And just the other night I went for a trail ride or bike ride, and I went about 23 miles, and I think probably less than 25% of that had to be on city streets because I was able to hit trails, and the streets that I had to go on were generally low traffic streets. And thank you for that, because that makes me feel so much safer being out and being able to do that. So I love the trails we've added. I love the things you're doing. I feel like Norfolk is a much better place because we have the opportunities to do this recreation, and it's the kind of things that makes the young generation want to come back and live here. So thank you. And the only other thing I was going to say is, if we're looking at funding sources, one thing that I did not hear you mention, if we're talking about a community center, or it can be done in a pool, or just a general community center, I think there's some funding possibly for also tagging that into a storm shelter, kind of a community storm shelter with like dome type construction that's more tornado resistant and that kind of thing. So that might be an avenue that we can look at too. That's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carney. A question before our next, yeah, come on, just a question. So there was a citizen-driven police station group, you would say. Is this something that could be driven from a community perspective for an indoor aquatic?
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, I sent an email out this morning and texted a
Could you
few
just state your
people.
name?
Oh, sorry, Sharon Hartor.
Thank you.
And just with a very short notice, we have 12 people here, and we have a lot more that are actually at practice who would have been here if they weren't in the middle of swim practice. So I, again, also thank you for the trails. I use the trails as well on I bike, and so I'm grateful that my husband runs a lot. We use the trails. I love our parks. We are big fans of our parks, and I appreciate the efforts you're making at improving the parks and making it accessible to the public. And so we do really appreciate that. I guess for me, I spent a lot of time on the Vote Yes campaign trying to get the vote for everything, because I think there's a lot of needs. But part of it, I think, is people used to look for jobs and move to where the job was. And now a lot of people are working from home. Where do I want to raise my family? Where do I want to live? And then they try to find a job, or they find an online job. And so I feel like, communities like Sioux Falls, they're growing and thriving because they're putting money into developing their country, or their city, sorry. And so I just feel like if we develop our city, we will attract people. We will attract people who are working and wanting to put their money into the community and invest in the community. And I have seen a lot of improvements, which I really appreciate. And I would just love to see this, because the closest indoor water facility is, a lot of people go take their whole family, pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to Wolf Lodge, stay in a hotel, a very expensive hotel, buy meals, and I just feel like we have a lot of people that we draw to Norfolk, and I think those people would use the facility, and a lot of them would pay the taxes, that it wouldn't cause a burden to the people in the community, and and if you do a hotel tax, if you don't stay in a hotel, if you don't eat out, if you can't afford to stay in a hotel and eat out, it doesn't affect your life, So we're drawing, I think, I can't remember the statistics, maybe 40% of people who pay taxes in hotels is not even from Norfolk, but yet our community would benefit from it. And so I would love to hear you consider moving this forward. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I do have something to say as a realtor in Norfolk, and have been for years and years. When companies are bringing people in to look at their company to see if they want to come from anywhere in the United States, they ask us to show them around and show them, what the city has to offer. And for a very, very long time, it was very hard to come up with anything to show them besides the why. And we are starting to get some of that. But if you don't have that, they can get a job. These are people that can get a job anywhere. They're executives. They don't have to come here. And if they don't like what the town or city has to offer for their kids, they'll go somewhere else because they can get a job anywhere. And we've got to have the facilities that we can talk about to get people to come and people to stay. It is very important. You can't grow a city without it.
Any other public?
I'm Savannah Clausen. I'm from like a really, really small town in western Nebraska, so like my husband's originally from here, and I was a lifeguard in my small town, but we just kind of had like the summer swim team program in the summer, swim lessons program, and didn't have those opportunities. And when we moved here 13 years ago, back here, I should say, those opportunities started to kind of flourish, I guess, for our family. We have kids who have been involved in various activities through the city, and I have a high schooler who has a love of swimming. He actually is a lifeguard at the water park now, and he's a very anxious and kind of struggles to interact with other kids. And a couple years ago, we started on the AquaJets team, and it's kind of brought him out a little bit. It's kind of given him more confidence. The group of kids that he swims with and the coaches that he's around, and just swimming in general, is a lifelong sport. And for him, it's been huge to kind of see him come out of his shell and kind of use that to deal with some of his anxiety and get out. And I mean, even being a lifeguard and working with people, he has to talk to people every day. So being able to utilize what we have now and hopefully get something else in to better not only him, but other kids and families in the community. And my mom had a double knee replacement, and she wants to be able to do something, but one of the things that she struggles with, like on the water aerobic side, is, she doesn't like to be hot. And you get into indoor facility not indoor facility, but being able to get outdoor and get in the fresh air and be able to cool off. She enjoys that too. And being able to go back and forth and just utilize what we have in town here in Norfolk is huge. And I have a family that come from Colorado, and the first thing they say is, what are you going to do? I'm like, what do you want to do? And she's like, let's go to Omaha. And if we can just stay here and bring the money back into our town and continue to help it grow, I think it would be huge. So, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
My name is Jonah Hastings. I'm both a swimmer, and I work at the water park actively as a part-time lifeguard. It is really hard for us, as swimmers especially. It's really hard. I mean, we have 5 a.m. practices not 5 a.m., 7 a.m. practices throughout the summer. And it's really hard for us specifically. I help with swim lessons at the water park as well, and so it's very hard for us to go directly from swim practice to lessons to working as a lifeguard to swim lessons again at the end of the night. It'd just be nice for us to have like an indoor area to where it's like air conditioned, where we don't feel like we're cooking every single second of the day. I forgot what I was gonna say. And also just like as being a swimmer, the elements affect you outside as well. 2 days ago when it was freezing cold out, we were out swimming. The water was very cold, I can tell you that right now. As well as there's a very high likelihood of you getting sick while swimming outside. I have gotten sick multiple times just throughout the 2 years that I lived here. And I believe it was also 2 days ago, we have a spool for our rope that we put into the water, and it fell into the water, and we had to have, because of the wind, and so we had to, as a swim team, pull it out of the water, and not having to have a situation where we have to worry about if something falls in the water, we have to drag it out. If a chair falls in the water, we have to drag it out for swim practice. If we were in a situation where the elements did not affect us, I believe that we would be able to grow as a team and just as like us being able to build together. I feel like it would be significantly better for us as a team and as a community.
Thanks, Jonah. Appreciate it.
My name is Lacey Kynes. I am a wife and mother. I have lived in Norfolk all my life. I've lived here for 39 years, so I've seen Norfolk from the 80s to where we were to today, and huge amount of growth that our city, our parks and recs has seen throughout the decades. My son, James, is a second-year member of the Aquajets, and so we've had some, I say, fresh eyes in the program, and going into our second year, some of the things that would really benefit from having an indoor aquatic center is for us personally the mobility issues that some of our family members have. And because of that, unfortunately not being able to attend local swim meets because the indoor facility that we do have does make it really difficult for some of our family members to be able to attend those things. In fact, we have several family members that just weren't able to attend it at all because though the facility that we do have is great, it does throw a lot of challenges for people that do have mobility issues. The space that's available for family to be able to watch local swim meets that we do host, it's just not feasible for them to be able to come and watch. And the space is very limited too. So to be able to come and watch, if you do have a family member that is swimming, chances that you're going to be able to have a seat to be able to watch them swim for the day is slim. It's very limited. So it'd be this is an amazing opportunity to be able to have a bigger facility so more family and friends can be able to watch these kids swim. And just like some of the other sporting facilities that we have, we can seat hundreds of people to be able to watch those kids, whether it's play football or play basketball or baseball. It would be wonderful to be able to have the same opportunity for these kids that put in hours and hours a week of practice. Rather than us personally, we have to limit who can come watch our kids swim because there's just not enough space. Is there anything you want to say? You can say your name.
My name is James Times, and the thing about, what's it called again? The thing that you're trying to build.
The Indoor Aquatic Center?
The Indoor Aquatic Center, it would make it easier for us since we've had a lot of new members, and there's just not enough lanes at the water park and Y, so it's just too big, and then the kids can't swim much, there's not enough space. And it would just be easier because there would be more places for people to swim, so that way it's not more crowded at the Y and that kind of stuff. And it'd also be nice because during the winter you can go to the water park, you have to go to the Y. So then you would have less people in one area, so you have more space.
May I ask, how many members are there in Aquajets nowadays? About?
You know? Yeah, there used to be like 30, but now we're reaching almost 40 with the new members.
Probably.
I would say closer to 60.
Right.
So about 60 members, and there's just not enough room anymore. So we need that aqua center so we can have enough space for people to swim.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Lacey and James.
I want to add, I joined the Y this year so I could swim this winter. I can't find parking places to go there because of basketball season. So once basketball started, I didn't get to go to the Y. There's just not room in that pool for everything that goes on, and they have to split up, all the different times and stuff, so I felt like I wasted my money there this year. So, anyway, thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay. So it looks like for this one, we're looking for consideration to recommend approval of the 2024 Parks and Recreation Master Plan.
A couple things I want to clarify before you do that. You may table this till next month if you want to spend more time reviewing it, because I know I did not get enough time to see the whole document. That's up to the board. I also want to mention that, especially like with the indoor pool, it acknowledges that that's what the public wants. We know that through our surveys. It acknowledges the types of funding options that are available. You can build the facility with a donor if you can find a $32 million donor for an aquatic center. But you can look at those funding options and kind of decide for yourselves, kind of how you would fund a pool like that. It does not say how it would fund that pool. That's not what's in here. From my experience and usually facilities of that size, do need some tax support to make that happen, to have a public facility of that size. It does say that they most likely will support an occupation tax over anything else. Those are all things that are just acknowledgements within the plan, but that's why this is a plan. This isn't how we're going to do everything, but this is some options on what we have available to us. And we can change kind of as we go. We have benchmarks within this plan that allow us to that measure our progress for getting all of our project done. We're focused on improvements within our park system throughout, and making sure that's accessible to everybody. A lot of our parks don't have any accessibility to them, and we need to make those improvements. So that's what's in the plan. That's kind of what the plan is for. It doesn't say we're going to spend money or do anything. It's just what it would cost if we choose to do it, or if we want to make those requests. And it also talks about a lot of grants and how we can go out and get those funding, which we have done, we've been doing, and that's why you're seeing a lot of improvements. Most of them are grant funded. Facilities are hard. Indoor facilities are very hard to get grants for, unfortunately. They are available, but they're pretty small. Maybe $1 million, $1.5 million. So hopefully that gives you some background. It's up to you if you would like to support this today and make a motion. We are asking for a motion to approve the master plan, and we'll move that on to council next with your support.
What date would that be?
We would have to set a date. Wanted to see what came out of this meeting first, and then I'm going to talk with Pros Consulting, and they'll come out and do a presentation if that's needed.
Okay. So
Nate, I do have a question. So if we're voting to approve the master plan, and then we don't approve it, what does that mean?
If you don't approve the master plan?
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand what are we approving, and what is that getting for us?
Yep. So if you don't like the plan, this plan is what we will follow, and how we put a lot of our efforts, and how do we prioritize different projects. We've prioritized it based on years and what we need to do in the next 2 to 3 years, 10 years. If you don't approve it, as a board, I would ask for what plan you would put forward for us to follow. So that would be my request, and what you would like to see different in this plan than what we have and what we've presented to you. Those would be the requests that I would have.
Okay.
This is a public plan. We didn't put ourselves into it as we had the public speak to us, and this is how we prioritize everything. And that's where the visionary projects came from. So.
Okay, so, and then if we tabled it, then we'd just come back next month. and-
Review it if you want to review it until next month, and if you need more time, that's fine. There's not a rush.
Are there any ramifications if we were to table it till next month, like dates or budget cycle issues or anything? There's no okay.
No.
Mine's kind of related. I mean, so this, obviously there's a lot of community support for this. I'm sure a lot of us would support it. If people wanted it on the ballot, what would that timeline look like for the fall? If we were gonna have a tax?
I don't know. I don't know about that. You'd have to talk with the front office here, the administration, if that is something that that the public is looking to. And I think you have to get signatures to get on the ballot and all that stuff, yeah.
Do you have some input?
You can go. Well, I'll comment on the bond. You're gonna have something on the November ballot. I believe you'd have to have everything finalized, the ballot wording, everything by the 1st of October.
But again, this is an overall plan, and we're not funding a specific item here.
Nope.
This is,
Visionary
encompasses
projects.
a lot of things.
Visionary projects are public supported and public pushed. That's, it has to be that way, yep. There's no, we can't, you wouldn't, there's nothing that I could do by myself.
Yeah.
And this aquatic center that we're talking about here, yeah, it's in here somewhere, but the only way it's gonna come to the top is through the public, is basically what you're, it's not, just because it's on here doesn't mean anything's gonna happen. It's gotta come from the public, and we've gotta figure a way, irregardless of what we do with the master plan. If it was at the very bottom of the master plan, but the public came up and got it through, it would then come to the top.
Yep.
So that's, so the master plan doesn't, I mean, it's not the end all for that. So, right.
But does tabling it delay the chance of it making it onto the ballot?
No, because it really wouldn't have anything to do with the ballot. That'd be public driven.
That would be up to the public.
Yeah.
If we never did anything with this,
We're
it could still come if the public brought it.
Yep. So if you were to ask me if you wanted me to ask council, I would say it's not a good idea right now. This is not. So it's public driven.
Okay. So I'll start with the first one. If this doesn't pass, then I'll ask for a motion to table, is what I'll do.
No, it either passes or it doesn't.
Or it doesn't, okay, so then it just gets tabled, I see what you mean, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You either table it or you vote on it, right?
Yeah, either vote for, we just need a motion.
Yep. Okay, looking for a motion, second for consideration to recommend approval of the 2024 Parks and Recreation Master Plan.
Also move to accept it.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All not in favor, same sign. All right.
Thank you.
We will move on to our next motion. It's item number 8. It's consideration to recommend approval of an ordinance to designate the North Fork Whitewater Park.
Okay, yep, so we have 3 items here. These are ordinances that'll go to council at the next June 3rd meeting in preparation for the opening of the Whitewater Park. In the ordinance here that we have, this would identify the North Fork Whitewater Park as a park, and allows us to set hours and make rules within that space. It also is asking, we'll just go through all 3, the East Bluff Park site, and I will bring that up on a map. This is land that was donated to the city to be used as a park at some point in the future. This is the last takeout point for the river. If you're on the water trail from First Street all the way down to the flood control, we do have an exit here to get off the river before you go into the swirling death trap. You want to get off the river right here. And so this would designate this area as a city park and allow for future funding for grants and maybe get a playground in there and improve some parking and do some of that work in that space. So this is the East Bluff Park off of East Bluff Avenue. Don't have another name for it. That's what we were calling it for now. We can come up with other names some other day.
How do you get into that? Is that where East Bluff there ends? Is there going to be, that's the way you're going to drive behind those houses to get into there?
Yep, just the road ends right there at the park. It also talks about the Norfolk Whitewater Park being open from sunrise to sunset, so we don't want anyone else in the river after the hours. And then all other parks are set by personnel, and generally we would just bring any changes to hours to the board. We have some more details in here. This is something that we addressed, as well as swimming and bathing, motorboating and similar water or outdoor recreation activities are not permitted upon water area of any park, except that swimming and wading may be allowed in designated areas where posted by signs during open hours of a park. So this allows us to have a conversation also about designating other areas for swimming in the city. At a future date. But we'd have to go through a process to do that. And then you shall not surf upon the water area of any park except in designated areas where posted by signs. Canoes, rafts, kayaks, surfboards, and boats and oars shall be permitted to operate in the Norfolk Whitewater Park. So all the red is all new. Any person engaging in water recreation activities in the park shall follow all safety rules and utilize the required safety gear required by the state of Nebraska boating regulations or otherwise posted in the park. No fishing allowed in the Norfolk Whitewater Park. Glass bottles or glass containers of any kind are strictly prohibited in the Whitewater Park. You can't leave your boat there overnight. Unoccupied water may be moored, anchored, or beached overnight upon Skyview Lake only at sites designated by appropriate signs and the docks installed. So it does still out in the lake. Any questions?
I just have a question. I don't really I haven't walked the Whitewater area or anything. In that surfing area, is that right in the middle of the channel or right in, like if somebody's come down with a tube or a kayak,
Yeah.
does the person surfing have to get off?
That's correct, and it is. So even you can surf in a kayak behind any of our features, and that's what they like to do. They like to kind of get in that wave and surf there. They have to move out of the way if there's someone coming down as well. So you have to yield to upstream traffic.
So there's some kind of a sign or notice that'll be somewhere that says how that's gonna.
Yep, and all those signs went up today, actually. So you can get out there and actually look if you stop by the parking lot there at Johnson Park.
I guess I hadn't thought about the no fishing allowed, and can you just kind of go over the reasoning on that one?
This would be having a lot of people in the water and fishing hooks, and I think that's the main concern there, particularly in the surfing area where people are not in a boat.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the whole span of the river from the first, where you go into where you finally get out?
No, just the Whitewater Park.
Just right here. Okay.
The Whitewater Park starts at Winter Park and ends at the gas station at Ivy. And the Water Trail starts on First Street north of Benjamin and goes down to East Bluff Park.
And there are signs at East Bluff Park that say it's dangerous.
This is
if
the
you
last
go.
year, yep, we have danger, get off.
Okay.
Yep. And we will have a buoy down at the bottom right before you go into the flood control area with that says, no watercraft, stay away, so.
Speaking of that, Nate, is there also a sign of some sort on the flood control above that overflow dam? I don't know that there is. It seems like there should be, if somebody happens to be, I mean, I know it's not part of the trail, but it seems like there should be a sign up
Yeah,
there.
we can talk, yep. Okay.
All right, look for a motion and a second for consideration to recommend approval of an ordinance to designate North Fork Whitewater Park.
I move to approve the ordinance for the Whitewater Park and, is it East Bluff?
There'll be 3 motions for each one.
Oh,
One for each.
okay.
Okay.
I'll do the Whitewater Park then.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, same sign. So we'll go back to consideration to recommend approval of an ordinance to designate East Bluff Park.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All not in favor, same sign. Consideration to recommend approval of park hours for North Fork Whitewater Park. Look for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All not in favor, same sign. All right. Looks like we'll move to other business. Supervisor reports.
I'll go ahead. Ron, if you would start us off, that'd be great.
Okay, I'll just be brief. I have some of the project outcomes. We have worked on the alpha lips at Taha for some safety reasons on fields F, G, A, and B. We're continuing to update those. We also needed scoreboards to be fixed, field 1, G, and 3. So we are working to get those fixed as well. Some of our current projects is we're working on getting the other equipment ordered and ready to start our second backstop for the fall after the seasons kind of wear down. And we also are working to get the new Taha signs installed and underway very soon for all the fields.
Any questions for sports? Right?
I'm going off the budget. Well, we're working at the Warren Cook cell. Got benches mounted today. Concrete board a couple weeks ago. I'd let that cure up. We're basically done up there. We just have a little bit of dirt work left to do. Worked on the irrigation. Oh, you can't hear me. Worked on the irrigation startup all over town. That's all pretty much done now. We've got the splash pad up, and I think he's gonna turn it on tomorrow for the weekend. I believe so. He was missing something. We had to order something, so hopefully that gets done. Working on the pool quite a bit. I believe we are up and running on everything. The second heater got started up today. The new heater's on the way pool. They were functioning. We were up like 4 degrees within 2 hours, so I'm assuming that we're probably already up to temperature there. So we're in good shape there. Worked out at Taha, sprayed the lake, got rid of all the moss last week and got fountains in. Still got to assemble one fountain, get that put in here in the next couple of days sometime. Just doing a lot of mowing and weed eating and a lot of stuff like that, so.
Is the rise in water at Taha due to the recent rains?
No, I've been filling the lake a little fuller than normal just to try to get rid of all the moss and grass because we had it early this year because of the warm weather. We had moss really bad a couple weeks ago. And that doesn't affect we'll still get grass growing up from the bottom. and I'll spray that again later on if it comes. I'm hoping that by raising the water level 2 or 3 feet, I can avoid, getting all that sunlight to the bottom and getting that grass going. So it's kind of an experiment this year to see if it helps, so.
What do you spray on the lake to remove the algae?
It's called Q-Tree Plus. It's a copper-based algaecide, basically. We spray half the lake so that it doesn't all die off one time, but apparently we sprayed it this year, and the wind took it a different direction the next day, and I think it took it all the other end of the lake, so we only spray about half the lake and got it all killed off, so. We'll spray a different chemical if the stuff comes up from the bottom, and we'll do that if it happens. If it didn't happen, we can save the chemical, but.
And that spray doesn't affect the fish? Or?
No, you can swim in it. You're not supposed to drink it anyway. I would drink Tahoe's water, That's just a safety message, don't drink the water. But it's just all the geese in there, the geese will winter in there now, and it just over fertilizes the water, and so, and we've got another 30 little hatchlings that will probably live their entire lives out there now, so they're cute. You want to go see them, but that's what I got.
All right, for recreation, summer school's out, so we started our rec camps. Today was the first day. We're utilizing Tahoe Zuka for those camps. And those went very well today, but we're working on training at Aquaventure. So we open Aquaventure this Saturday is opening day, so we will be open through the summer. We're training staff. The fire department comes and helps us certify our staff in CPR, which has to be done every year because we're a Class A pool. So they come to help us do that. So we've been doing that all week. As Ryan said, we've been just preparing the outside, getting it ready, putting the chairs out, things like that, training the staff, the water slides to get refurbished, and that was completed as well. They look great. They're really bright if you haven't seen them, so it catches your eye a lot more. The life jacket station was installed at Johnson's parking lot. So if you want to go see what that looks like, that is installed. It's at the end of that parking lot there, the new parking lot, Johnson's Park. Closer to opening day, then we'll put the life jackets out, and the helmets are ordered as well, and those should be getting here. They have property of the city of Norfolk on those, and those are available free of use for anybody that comes and utilize the Whitewater Park on a honesty basis to put them back when they're finished. And they do say property of the city of Norfolk. I did have a couple of donations for life jackets, and those ones are screen printed with those sponsors' names on them.
Are those locked up at night, or are they just there 24 hours and available?
We haven't discussed locking them. They will be secured on a cable or chain so that they don't catch the wind. So you'll actually unhook it to get the life jacket or helmet off. But as for locking them up, we haven't discussed that or decided if that's a need. I did visit another city that has a small whitewater park. Theirs is not secured, and they wound up budgeting $500 a year just to replace the ones that come up missing. Staff will monitor those, and when I say monitor those, I mean we'll make sure that we check life jackets on a regular basis to make sure that there's no tears or rips on them for safety purposes, and remove those ones that are broken, and I will continue to seek donors for replacement for funding for those.
Any other questions for Rick? Okay, I'll just hit on 3 things real quick. Skyview Fishing Dock is scheduled to be installed next month in June. I don't have a date yet, but that's coming very soon. Tahoe Team Lockers, construction will start in about the next 2 to 3 weeks with the completion date by the end of November. So that'll be going on at Tahoe. And then Johnson Park, we were hoping to have the water on by this weekend. We're still waiting on a few things. The rain is just delaying things and not helping. but signs are being installed. We're going to calibrate the river next week. It can't be running. We calibrate it. We'll have 3 levels. We'll have low, medium, and high, and we will inform the public that that's where it's at. It's either low, medium, or high. We're not saying it's beginner, intermediate, and expert or anything like that, but it's really up to the user if they want to get out there. If you're a surfer, you're probably going to be one out there when it's high, and if you want to take your kids out, you probably want to be out there when it's low. So that's pretty much how it'll go. We'll have a sign at Winter Park that says that. We'll also post that on the website. Once we get it calibrated next week, the signs are in by the end of next week. If we feel that it's safe to do so in Johnson Park, and the construction is going to be wrapping up around the river, hopefully by mid-June, we'll get this open and get this up and running. So stay tuned. Next couple weeks, things will be moving pretty fast. The upper part of the park will be done probably by mid-July. A lot of that's in already right now. They're putting in the fountain area. They're also putting in the ice rink as well. That's getting put together. We'll be starting the playground. Did you mention that at all? Next week. So that'll get started as well. And any questions? It's come together. We're anxious.
Board members have anything? All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.